Before kings ruled men, men ruled themselves by law. That is our first view. It sounds strange. It is also true. This video traces a dangerous idea, that justice stands above rulers, from the Hebrew covenant to empires, to our courts today. We'll see how it inspired rights, how it was twisted into the divine right of kings, and how it still shapes power now. We'll cover covenant and prophets, exile and return, legacy through Christianity and Islam, and the birth of modern rights. Stay to the end to see how this ancient contract decides who gets judged by the law, including the powerful, and how the same words can free us or bind us. No fluff, just the answers you clicked for. This is the story of one such idea, an idea so powerful it has outlasted the very empires that tried to control it. This idea began with a small, wandering people, not on banners of war, but in the memory of a promise. And in the end, it helped build our courts, our rights, and our very definition of justice. Long ago, in the dust and heat of the ancient world, a people made rules not for the glory of a king, but for the good of the community itself. These rules were meant to hold them together, to guide their hands and their hearts. They called these rules laws, and in their eyes, these laws were holy, a gift from a source far greater than any earthly ruler. They were a standard against which all human power could be measured. It entered the courts of great empires, becoming a tool for the wise and, sometimes, a weapon for the cruel. And in the end, it helped build the foundations of our modern world, our rights, our justice. The journey of this law is a human story, of struggle, of hope, and of the quest to limit absolute power. Well, that's where we begin. Imagine a man alone on a windswept mountain. The air is thin, the silence profound. In his hands, 2 tablets of stone, their weight a reminder of their importance. The words are more than rules. They are the terms of a sacred promise, a pact between the heavens and the earth. In the Hebrew story of Moses at Sinai, God makes a covenant with the people. This is not a political treaty. This is not a king's decree. It is a moral contract that binds the entire community, from the lowest to the highest, to a shared standard of behavior. Most ancient laws maintained a king's order, control, tribute, obedience. The Hebrew law said something radical. Justice is a moral and spiritual obligation. It linked the divine not with the king's authority, but with the right way to live. The ruler himself would be judged by this standard. Act justly. Care for the widow, the orphan, the stranger. Do not bear false witness. Keep your promises. The law was given to the people to hold each other and their leaders accountable. This is a law above the king. Once the law was established, a new kind of figure emerged to defend it. These were the prophets. They wore no crowns. They commanded no armies. They were outsiders, often wandering from town to town. Their voices rough with urgency and conviction. Their one and only weapon was the truth. Their mission: remind the people, especially leaders, of the covenant. They shouted in the square, accused kings of injustice, of oppressing the poor, of forgetting God's law. God would hold rulers to the same standard as the humblest shepherd. It turned power upside down, the king under higher judgment. They weren't inventing new rules. They were calling the nation back to its promises. "Thus says the Lord," they said, then condemned unjust policies. Ignore justice and mercy, and the nation will suffer. Famine, defeat, disaster. A law above the king can be a shield for the people. Then, as the prophets warned, disaster struck. The kingdom was conquered. The great temple in Jerusalem was destroyed, and the people were driven from their land into exile. They lost home, sovereignty, a place of worship. For many, this would be the end. But for the Hebrew people, something remarkable happened. Their faith did not die. It grew deeper. Stripped of land, they found a homeland in their texts. The laws and stories became their portable country. The scroll became their temple. In scattered communities, they gathered to read the law, retell the stories, remember the promises. Could divine law survive without power? In Babylon, it did. The covenant became an internal compass, carried in the heart. When some returned, they rebuilt. Law as blueprint, trust restored. Their covenant could outlive any empire. So that's what endured. From resilient roots, the idea of moral law above rulers began a long journey. It spread not by conquest, but by conversation and conversion. Christianity, born in a Jewish world, centered on one who challenged authorities and personalized the law as compassion. Higher justice traveled Rome's roads. Later, Islam proclaimed God as ultimate lawgiver. Sharia framed a comprehensive moral order, applying even to rulers. Through Christianity and Islam, the seed spread across civilizations. The persecutor empire adopted the faith it once hunted. God's law language entered politics. Church and crown danced a complex duet. But this led to a dangerous turn. Divine law can shield the weak, or become a weapon for control. Leaders learned that claiming God's choice could justify rule. Silence critics, demand obedience. Many churches endorsed kings. To disobey the crown was to disobey God. Wars, extravagance, oppressive taxes, wrapped in sanctity. The moral law was refashioned into a cage. Yet the original idea survived, in defiant writings, brave pulpits, and common hearts. They reached back to covenant and prophets. If God is just, an unjust ruler forfeits his right to rule. As the modern age dawned, new voices seized the language of God and justice. Reformers, philosophers, revolutionaries argued that human dignity springs from a higher moral order. A law above rulers was reborn, not for kings, but for universal rights. A claim once used to cement power now dismantled it. Thinkers declared liberties. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, belong to all humans. Captured perfectly in the Declaration, self-evident truths, rights endowed by their Creator. The old language of the divine, power placed with the people. Governments exist to protect these rights. If they fail, the people may alter or abolish them. This spirit spread, fueling revolutions in France and Latin America, abolishing slavery, fighting for women's rights. At its core, a moral law superior to the state's law, granting dignity to every person. The higher law that once judged kings now empowers citizens. The state stands under the judgment of the people's inalienable rights. Now, step out of the past. Look at a modern courtroom. You see a judge sitting higher, sign of higher authority. You see the scales. A witness swears to tell the truth. Not empty rituals, echoes of a sacred duty above any one person's will. Modern law is many-threaded, but the Hebrew vision adds a theme. Law must have a moral core that binds rulers and ruled alike. When the powerful stand trial, we reenact an ancient drama. No one above the law. It gave the weak a language to demand fairness. But misuse continues. Leaders claim special mandates from God, from history, from the people. They bend law to will, in the name of a higher purpose. The struggle remains. Imagine an all-powerful king, surrounded by guards, reading the mountain laws. He reads about not coveting, then caring for the poor, then humility and justice.
This must be a prank. Who wrote this, the court jester?
We smile because power resists limits, and that's why prophets had to shout. It's a human drama of ego, fear, and the tug-of-war between our better angels and selfish impulses. So, why walk from a desert mountain to a modern courtroom? Because the central question is still alive and knocking at our door. Who judges the powerful? By what standard do we measure leaders? What law stands above the state's will? We live these questions when we vote, when we protest, when we argue about justice, when we trust the courts. Forget the higher law and power becomes its own justification. Remember the story, and moral language becomes a shield. The law outlived empires. It took a seat on the bench. It taught us to ask, who holds power to account? Now you decide.